Just
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:31, so we shall first begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you're able to please stand and join with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we will now begin our City Council meeting on this Wednesday, June 20, 2018, with a roll call, please.
Pete Hamill.
Here.
Sean Brewster.
Here.
Brad Hunt.
Here.
Greg Gills. Tom Eggers.
here.
Number 1 on the agenda is approval of the agenda set forth. I do not have any changes, so do we have a motion to approve the agenda that is before you?
So move. Second.
Thank you. And a roll call, please.
Hunt.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Thank you. Second on the agenda is public comments at this time. Are there any public comments that need to be shared? There are none. So we'll move into the consent agenda. Regarding the student firefighter pending passing the physical, his name is Raith Diedrich. You ready for that? I'll do it now so that way if you don't want to hang out later. Raith is W-R-A-I-T-H. Last name is Diedrich, D-E-D-R-I-C-K. And then consideration approval of firefighter pending passing the physical is Eva Del, D-E-L, Carm, C-A-R-M-E, Trejo, T-R-E-J-O.
What's the last again, please?
Trejo. Eva Trejo.
T-R what? Excuse me.
T-R-E-J-O.
Thank you.
Then we had the request from EMA regarding the street closures that they do for the July 3rd fireworks celebration at the village. And Chanel had a list of some events that are coming up where she needs assistance as well. So are there any questions? We also have the resignation for our full-time paramedic. We take action on that. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. No comments at all? I will take a roll call, please.
Brewster.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Thank you. Going into new business, the first item, number 4, is considering approval of the Crossroads Pavilion Assistant Manager. And Brittany, would you like to share some information with us regarding that, please?
Yes, so we completed interviews and we offered the position to Heather Jacobs at $30,000, and she accepted. And now we're just looking for council approval.
And start date, anticipation?
July 9th.
Thank you. All right. If there are any questions or comments, I thank you for the process that the board went through. Anxious to get someone on board to help
So do you
fulfill that
need,
gap. We need a motion to approve the salary of $30,000.
I think we had talked about it in the past. So.
Right. Within their budget between 30 and 35. So
So moved.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, questions, comments? A roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Thank you, Brady. And thank you to your board. Number 5, we will consider the first reading of the ordinance on rezoning lots 2, 3, and 10, and a portion of 9 in Block 53A of the second edition. If you recall, this is being rezoned into arterial commercial. These are the lots we talked about at our last meeting on South 3rd Avenue. So, do we have any? I've had no feedback whatsoever, so we are looking for a motion to approve to go to the second reading.
Make the motion to approve the second reading.
Support.
Thank you. No further discussion? A roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Hunt.
Aye.
Hamill.
Aye.
Number 6 on the agenda, we need to set the a date and time for a public hearing on the airport snow removal equipment building. That date will be Tuesday, July 3rd, 2018 at 12 o'clock noon. And we will need a motion to approve setting that date and time.
So move.
Second.
Thank you. A roll call, please.
Hamel.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Thank you. I want to make sure we're keeping up with Ann here. You're like, there's smoke coming out of that pan as she's writing everything. Take a little breather. Number 7 on the agenda is considering approval by resolution setting the wages and salaries for fiscal year 2018 and 2019. Any discussion, questions, or comments? And if not, then we would need to approve by motion. Approve the resolution. By
Move that we
resolution.
approve the resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete. Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you, Brad. Questions to my right? Comments, any left? May I have a roll call, please?
Hamel.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 8 on our agenda. Consider approval of wage resolution for the duration that we will be without a city manager, the vacancy. In the past, what we had done, and we did it by resolution, we'll do that again, is Todd Ewell and Angela Beckman will fill in as needed, where needed, covering their departments and different responsibilities. Also coordinating with Micah and council, myself, as needed. But effective June 29, and then they would be compensated an amount of $2,000 per month until the city manager is hired.
Mayor, this was in accordance to the last time around?
Yes,
basically?
this is what we did last time as well.
Okay.
And so they are our acting what did we call it? What's the official term? It was like their interim city manager. I think that's what we're calling it. Okay. Yeah, so when...
Just don't call me
You
late
can call it
for
what you
dinner.
want. Yes, sir?
The
Call
go-to
call
for
them with all your
clarification.
questions, yeah.
For clarification, yes, Mike.
That would be until the next city manager assumes the position,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, and
And
I would
then I
like
think
to...
last time we went to that date, and then there was a discussion whether it should be extended.
Exactly. So depending on when we find someone, hire them, they start, we'll also see what kind of gap there is in between getting someone up to par as well. So when that day comes, then we'll revisit this at that time. Okay. So this would take effect June 29. Any questions, council? And thank you, Micah, for the clarification.
I move to support the resolution.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Hint.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Number 8 on the agenda, consider approval of, oh, I'm sorry, that was 8. Number 9, my apologies. Appointing Todd Ewell to be the zoning administrator again for the duration that we would be without a city manager. We do need to have a zoning administrator appointment, so that would be Todd until we have a new city manager and up to par. And Todd is accepted. You didn't have a choice, did you?
I'll make the motion then.
Thank you,
Or he can
Brett.
back out.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Eggers.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Hint.
Aye.
Hamel.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 10, discussion of the no parking all night. This is in regards to downtown. Ange did some digging and found back in 1963, on December 9th, an ordinance was put into place pertaining to no parking areas at specified times within the city of Sheldon. Those specified times were between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., and a good portion of it was throughout our downtown area. Lyle is on vacation, but I did speak with him, and what we would like to suggest or recommend first regarding the overnight parking is have that in place on 9th Street between 2nd Avenue, Old Highway 60, up to 4th Avenue. Then also on 3rd Avenue between 8th Street and 10th Street, as well as a portion of 4th Avenue between 9th Street and 8th Street. The reason Lyle had those zones to be amended is because that's where the heart of our rentals are. At the time, what we have in place now since 1963 is portions of 10th Street, 4th Avenue, 8th Street, 4th Avenue, 3rd Avenue, 10th Street. It's this whole little mix-up here, down here. And what we found is happening is mostly it's the renters above the buildings downtown. So maybe first beginning with amending the ordinance, specifying those streets at that time, then communicating that with the property owners so that if they are rental units, they can let their tenants know as well. And then use signage. Any questions regarding that area that is being recommended? And I think he had spoke with you about that too, did he not?
Yeah, Lyle and I talked about it.
Yep.
Could you give me the proposal one more time, please?
Sure, yep, okay. So it would be 9th Street between 2nd Avenue and 4th Avenue. And then 3rd Avenue between 8th Street and 10th Street. And then including 4th Avenue between 8th Street and 9th Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm thinking maybe for less confusion, maybe just make 4th Avenue from 8th to 10th. I don't know if it's that big of a difference.
That's what I was thinking. If you'd add 4th
Instead of
over
having
here.
a 2 block and a 1 block, so kind of makes sense to keep it the same as the other.
Would you like to amend the reference to Highway 33?
I would like to amend that, yes, because reading this, it still states Highway 33. Highway 33 to Highway 18, and now it's 2nd Avenue, Business Highway 60. So yes, let's amend that. And I would like to, Council, if you would agree, 4th Avenue, let's make that equivalent to what 3rd Avenue would be between 8th Street and 10th Street.
I'd even like to see out in front of the community building.
Overnight. So
Overnight
extend
also.
overnight down to.
That's my opinion. You still have
We do have
rental
rentals
across
right
the
here
street.
across the way. Mm-hmm.
You still have commercial buildings on each side of the street. But that's my opinion only.
I can see that because of the rentals across the way as well.
Would that be 2nd Avenue to 5th is what you're proposing?
That would,
Thoughts over there? I just want to make sure I can see.
No, I
wheels
see
turning.
the wheels turning now. Okay. I have a poker face, don't I? No, I'm thinking, since none of us really knew about the ordinance since 1963.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And a lot of time has gone by, and a lot of considerations have probably changed throughout all those years as far as what the ordinance should cover and where it should cover and how it should be covered. Is there any way for the future that we can put together an ordinance that has some flexibility to it? Because next year, maybe another consideration needs to be, taken, considered
We could amend it
about
again.
the parking again, and we'll be back at this again,
Amending it again.
amending it again,
Sure.
or whatever. I'm just wondering if there is a structure that we could adopt within a resolution that would give that flexibility to the people who basically are deciding what's best anyway. I mean, we're taking the recommendations, which I'm glad that we are from our department heads that have to deal with this. I'm thinking out loud here a little bit, but
Sure. And what I think is if we see a change to it, well, then it's a matter of bringing it back and amending the.
yeah, I mean, I have
ordinance again.
no problem with the proposal at all. I'm ready to support it, but we could be back at this again many different times over that.
Sure. And I think the way this came up was mostly where are the rentals with the upstairs living quarters that we foresee the overnight parking happening.
Right.
Yes.
Right, and it was where there are rentals, and also, I guess the thought was where it would affect businesses.
Right.
So for instance, if I live above and I park in front of my apartment, now am I affecting a downtown business by parking? And that's why the between 9th and 10th on 4th Avenue, that's why Lyle and I left it out. You can do what you want. I'm not going to argue it one way or the other, but there's a parking lot on both sides of the street, a public parking lot. The one business building that opens up to 4th Avenue has several spots on the south side of its building. That's why we left it out. But I'm not going to, doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. But for clarification, if you pass that, then we would be taking off no parking signs off of
10th.
2 blocks of 10th Street, a block of 3rd Avenue, 2 blocks of 8th Street,
Correct.
and maybe some 11th Street. I'd have to look. I don't think so, though.
No, there's nothing on
There's
11th.
nothing on 11th.
Right
There's
now,
nothing
it's
on
10th
11th.
Street between 3rd and 4th. So that would come on.
But
The ordinance from 1963.
no, I know, but I currently believe it's signed on 10th
is,
Street
yes.
from
Right.
2nd
Yep,
to 4th.
yes.
Yep.
And it's signed on 3rd Avenue from 10th to 11th.
11th.
So we
And
can
it's
take
signed on 8th Street, I believe, from 2nd to 4th.
that. Right.
Yep.
So if you went with this approach, we would then remove those signs if you didn't include those blocks. Or at least that was my intent. If that's not what you want, you'll have to
I would-
let us know.
I would agree. I wonder, there we go. I would agree by taking those signs down from 10th Street, having it just this area that Lyle had recommended.
And I also look at it from the point of during the night, if you'd have an emergency down there and need to get the fire trucks down there, and you have cars on both sides of the streets, it's going to be congested. You know, if you have the same issue during the day, a lot of people are going to see it and they'll get out of there.
Right.
You know, at night you got to find people whose cars are there. So that's the side I look at it. If you have an emergency down there during the night, it's much easier when you have open streets.
So to that point, then, Brad, including that block of 4th Avenue likely forces them into one of the 2 parking lots.
That's right.
Exactly,
Yep.
yeah. So, I would agree for the emergency services part of it. So from 9th Street between 2nd and 5th, 3rd Avenue between 8th and 10th, and 4th Avenue between 8th and 10th. Okay. And so obviously, we're going to have to amend our agenda, and then we'll communicate with property owners. Excuse me, thank you, amending the ordinance. And then we'll communicate with the property owners, and they can communicate with their tenants. But it was interesting to see what year this had come from. So, 1963, it's time to update you. And we will bring that back then onto our next agenda. We'll get the first reading underway then. And again, Tom, this will go through 3 readings as well, because
I
it's an ordinance. So
No, I know. I'm
maybe
not-
we'll hear from tenants downtown as well.
Yeah.
But I think it only makes sense looking at the structures that we have downtown now and where our housing is. So I think it'll work.
Yeah, please don't
Oh, no, not at all.
misinterpret what I was after. It's just 2 years from now, things will probably change again, and
It's
it'll be
very
a
possible. You
reconsideration.
just never know.
Tom, it worked fine up until we took the signs down.
Right.
Yeah, we went through that.
Signed for 5 years after that.
Yes.
Yep.
Until
And
the
now-
last snowstorms in April.
It was this last year. Yeah, it was just
Yep,
the last year.
until snowstorms in April.
Okay, thank you. So then, number 11, after speaking with Lyle, he would like to see as well, when we get the overnight parking changes in place, then wait a little while to see about the 2-hour parking limit. I have had 3 businesses tell me they are not in favor of 2-hour limits because sometimes their customers may be downtown shopping for 3 hours. So, I would like to bring that back again later on, maybe this fall, after we see what the change has taken place with the overnight parking, to see if a 2-hour needs to stay in place or be changed. Just so you know, that ordinance was put into place 1987, May 20, 1987. There were sections again of downtown where it had the 2-hour parking. And that was just to promote shoppers' convenience. And so,
Part of this area is currently signed, and
part of this area is currently not.
Right. So I think for the time being, we'll leave it where it's at, work on the overnight, and then see what kind of cause and effect that may or may not have, and we will revisit the 2-hour parking downtown to see if we can do away with it or amend it.
Mayor, may I comment on a
Yes.
parking issue?
Yes, please.
There was a question at the last meeting about how parking restrictions get put in place. If you look at Chapter 61 of our city code, it contemplates that traffic control devices are established by the council by resolution. And a traffic control device would include a sign.
Okay.
So if there are additional parking zones or limited parking places that the council's contemplating taking action on, it would be by resolution.
Okay.
Now, having said that, we also have parking ordinances, which makes sense because our city code says that in order to be charged with a violation, it would be for a violation of a parking restriction imposed by the Code of Ordinances. To bring those two things together, I would recommend that new parking restrictions initially be passed by resolution
Okay.
and then codified via ordinance in our Code of Ordinances.
So we would need to bring the overnight back by resolution.
Well, we already have an ordinance, and
Okay.
we can amend it by resolution. We can do it like we do a zoning ordinance change, which we
Okay.
do by resolution and followed by an ordinance.
Okay.
So,
Mm-hmm.
just for future reference.
Wonderful. So then, on this next topic, the discussion of the no parking on East 6th Street. That'll be number 12 on our agenda. Right now, between 19th Avenue and 23rd Avenue, there is parking allowed after 4 p.m. within a little section closer to 23rd, and we would like to just switch that entire section to no parking. So then, will we need to do that by resolution?
Correct.
Okay.
Will we need an ordinance as well?
That, or potentially, for clarity purposes, an amendment to 70.03. But either way, we can clean it up a little bit.
Okay.
The advantage of following up with an ordinance is
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows what it says. They're on constructive notice because we have copies of the ordinance available.
Sure.
It's a little bit harder to find our resolutions.
Okay.
But Ms. Beckman and I will try to figure out the best way to tackle that.
Wonderful. Well, you found something from 1963, so I'm
And
sure
this
you'll do just
proposal would be
fine.
on both sides of the street?
This is the north side only.
Okay.
Right now, people are able to park on the south side. The no parking restriction on East 6th between 19th and 23rd Avenue is referring to the north side. There are 3 signs right now that run from 23rd and then go west just a little ways, just past those lilac-y grove tree things there, that allow parking after 4 p.m. We just want to do away with those because when we have school events, the parking starts there, then I think they overlook the signs and then the whole street becomes flooded. So Lyle recommended just let's do away with those 3 and replace them. But
From where to where?
so it would be between 19th Avenue and 23rd Avenue, the north side only of East 6th.
Okay.
Okay, so we can bring that back on our next council meeting, July 3rd as well. Okay, thank you for finding that wonderful history on Sheldon's parking, 1963.
I see that Dorothy Mitchell's signed both of them.
I know, I was looking at the names, like, who are these people?
Dorothy
Wow,
was here for many years.
many long time. Yeah, she was on both.
Yeah, she's on both.
Okay, so let's move forward. Number 13 on the agenda, discussion on filling the city manager position. Last time that we had left off, I said I would look into different firms so we can have assistance with replacing our city manager position. I reached out to the Iowa League of Cities and talked to Mark Toom. He gave us a few different references. The number one recommendation was Pat Callahan with Callahan Municipal Consultants. I have been in touch with him. He's busy right now working with a couple other different cities, finding replacements for their city administrators or managers. The two gentlemen that he works with were the other referrals that came from Iowa League of Cities. What Pat has asked, if we could give him until Friday, he'll put together a scope of services and a time frame. And he has a very busy schedule. And he would like to work with the two other gentlemen to see when would be best for us to get together with them and discuss our needs. So I'll have better ideas come Friday. But highly recommended. They're very busy right now within the state of Iowa filling some other positions similar to us. So Friday, I should have more information that I can share with you regarding that.
So Mayor, you've had some references for the Callahan Consulting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Came highly recommended from Iowa League of Cities. So I thought,
But other than Mark, is there any other references that we've checked on?
I have not. Mm-mm.
Okay.
The only one I reached out to was the Iowa League of Cities.
Okay.
If Tom or any of you know of another firm, please go ahead and check that out and bring that information to us.
I'm just wondering if it'd be good to get references on any of them that we're considering, just so we get some feedback from people who
Yep.
utilize their services.
And he will provide all that too, as well as the two other gentlemen. Pat Callahan specializes in government and helping fill those positions within government. And he has over 20 years working within the government. He was a city manager somewhere east. So I will have more information come Friday with that. Number 14 on the agenda, filling of the full-time paramedic position. We have a job description here before us, and we would like to know if that is something how do we want to go about that? Is that something we want to place in the papers? What's the steps we want to take in fulfilling that position, that vacancy?
Start right away.
I think start right away. Do we want to have a deadline? Resumes accepted until this point,
Until we find someone.
until it's filled? Interested reaching out for information, so that's a good sign on that part too. So I would like to see local papers. How far do we go out? Just stick with the local? Review? Mail Sun? Do we do the Journal?
I would
Michael?
recommend doing Indeed.com. We've used that
Indeed.
for other
Okay.
positions that I've had to look into.
.com. And is that something we can? Okay, so we will get that posted as soon as possible. I know you're still going to be a volunteer, so depending on Kevin, you never know, we might ask you to help be a part of that reviewing.
I would
interview
think if
crew.
he's the director,
He will be
I
a
would
part of
think
that.
he would be part of it.
Right. You're still here.
You're not getting off the hook that easy.
You're not leaving, right?
Because he's going to have to work with that individual. And
Absolutely. So that's coming up. But what I'll appreciate, I think, and we all will, Kevin, is that you have good foresight into that, and will be able to help us with filling your spot. So, all right. Thank you. Okay. We are moving right along. It's only 5 o'clock. We are going to begin a discussion regarding our garbage service, but I will take bathroom break. I don't know how long our discussion will go or won't go. All right? No, I mean to slam that. For the past few months, Sean, Brad, Pete, myself, Brad off and on, myself off and on, Brad off and on, as we could, have been meeting with the garbage haulers to what doesn't work, etc. One of the biggest things that kept coming up in the conversations when I was there was the ordinance that we have in place. And I would pick up on it too real quick. A few people have asked me, and I even got a text message saying, how dare you just put this into place without telling anybody about it? This ordinance has been in place since 2009, I believe. I'd like to find that piece of paper.
Yeah.
Here it is. So, in 2009, January, the 21st day, our ordinance specifies that the residents may have any 165-gallon container, hydraulic lift containers, fully loaded. There is a weight limit exception. That has been in place, so how many years is that? 9+ years. This is not something new that we just now are talking about. This has been in place for 9 years. And the reason we're getting together is contract will be up soon with the haulers, but also we were looking at ways and talking about ways, different options on container sizes, etc. There's so many different ideas and things that popped up, but the main thing that kept coming back was we have an ordinance in place removing the weight restrictions. Would you disagree, gentlemen, haulers? It's the 232 and 165 is what we have in place. We also have unit-based pricing, container removal. I guess what I'm getting at with this ordinance has been in place for over 9 years. So it's not something new that just came up that we decided that we're going to start to have these restrictions. They've been there. We just enforced those restrictions or what's in place. So where do we want to begin? Does anybody have ideas? You want to come up? You want to join? You want to sit at the table? Or
I guess the
a
comment.
couple times. Right. I would like to say that, Jeff, and you had asked, if we do this, the enforcement of this ordinance, you need support from council. And if we're going to have an ordinance in place, it has to be backed up by city council, but also everybody's got to be on the same page. So if we have 2 private haulers, we all have to be on the same page. So I think that's where we were talking last that we had met when I was with you, was cleaning up the ordinance and adding recycling in there as well. I know some of the problems that we have with our residents is the confusion. If I'm garbage Monday, I'm recycling on that day. So we were just talking about what are different ways we can clean that up, but including recycling ordinance. We also talked about excess garbage, a sticker option that you would place on there saying, Jeff, if it's you, call Schwartz. Mark, if it's you, call this number. And then that you would explain what they would need to do for excess garbage, alleviating the city out of that scenario. Correct?
I have already started doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the city has been getting the phone calls
And the text messages, yeah. Yeah. And I think, too, the other thing that I'd shared with you was the communication. You know, it's key for us to let the residents know what is in place, and it's nice to remind them so that they know what is allowed and what is not and what they need to do if ever there's excess. And I don't mean a sofa. I mean, I just had a graduation party. I'm going to have 3 extra bags. What do I have to do to compensate you for picking that up? Okay. So where we left off was cleaning up the ordinance. Let me pull that back over here. I have too many pieces of paper up here.
So the ordinance we have right here in our notes is the existing ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Where did I just had it in my hands? Good golly. One moment. Thanks. I got a breaker too. I think I have like 5 copies in this folder from when we met. So right now, we'll read through the ordinance. An ordinance of the City of Sheldon providing that the Code of Ordinance of the City of Sheldon, Iowa be amended by revising Section 106.10 pertaining to garbage container specification. Section 1, that the Code of Ordinance of the City of Sheldon, Iowa are hereby amended by revising Section 106.10, and in lieu thereof and in place thereof, such section shall state as follows. Unit-based pricing. Container specification. Residential waste containers shall be made of galvanized metal, rubber, fiberglass, or plastic, which does not become brittle in cold weather. Disposable containers, bags, and containers approved by the city and garbage hauler may be used. No change there. The next paragraph, this is where we wanted to eliminate some of the things that we had talked about. It reads currently, residential non-disposable waste containers may have a maximum capacity of not more than 65 gallons. They shall be of lightweight and sturdy construction with the total weight of any 32-gallon container fully loaded not to exceed 65 pounds. At one point when we had talked, we wanted to do away with that entire section and having it as 2 32-gallon containers, not a weight restriction. Then I'll continue. They shall be of the type manufactured for storage of residential wastes with tapered size for easy emptying and suitable lifting devices such as handles or bales. They shall be waterproof and leak-proof. Containers shall be fitted with a fly-tight lid, which shall remain in place except for the deposit of removal of wastes. The next section of section 1, the next paragraph, any 65-gallon containers purchased must be capable of being hydraulically lifted into the garbage truck. So where we left off on there was cleaning that up to have the 165-gallon hydraulically lifted or a maximum of 2 32-gallon containers with the lids. Okay. Paragraph 2, unit-based pricing. No more than 1 65-gallon container, no more than 2 32-gallon containers as described in subsection 1 per residential unit shall be collected at the normal rate of charge for collection. The next sentence is all additional containers, piles, etc. placed for collection will be charged an additional fee by the private hauler. Private hauler will use his discretion in assessing additional charges. We wanted to scratch that out where we would have in place, this is where your sticker would come on. Yep. Either prepaid, right. So they would have to purchase that from you. But let's say I just put out too much garbage. We had talked about you guys having a sticker you smack on there to call so they know what to do.
I've just been leaving it.
Okay, I'm just
saying my feeling is the easiest way to do it is just leave it, and when they call, tell them.
and they'll call you. Okay.
I would like to put it on the paper and in the radio, but
First we gotta get it cleaned up and see what we're gonna do.
Which
Yes?
technically, that's in violation of the ordinance.
Which is leaving them there.
It would be the owner's violation.
It's the owner's, yeah, because he's to pick up only 1 65-gallon or 2 32.
I'm not saying is I should pick it all up
Right.
and then bill.
That's the way the ordinance reads.
Oh. So all additional containers, piles, etc., placed for collection will be charged an additional fee by the private hauler. Private hauler will use his discretion in assessing additional charges. That's what's in place now.
Done that and not gotten paid.
So you want to change that to a prepay, is what where we're at, a prepay.
Just for clarification, what you've been leaving behind is in addition to what the ordinance requires you to pick up.
32-gallon cans. Anything left, else I have to leave.
Mayor?
Yes.
When people call, then they understand. But
Okay. And again,
it's hard for me to leave it when I've been picking it up for 40 years. It's hard for me to leave something laying.
right. And I think the key to this is really going to be communication, just re-educating everybody where we're at. Brad, you had a comment?
Yes.
Hold on
If
one second, Micah.
we're recording this, and there's lots of people that watch it,
Let's get
let's have the microphone so they can hear
Yeah.
both sides of the story.
Would you guys
rather
mind
than-
coming closer? Just
Than
have
one
the
side of
microphone?
the story.
I know, Jeff. We can probably hear you.
Because I know people are going to say, we didn't hear the other side of the story. There you go. And they need to know the rest of the
You want to
story.
sit closer in case you got it? Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Not
they
to
would
interrupt
have heard my
conversation.
question, but not the answer.
I even
Yeah.
turned the TV for you.
I hope not.
just have to be quiet. That works
Okay.
out really well.
Jared,
Thank you, Brad.
thank you.
Okay, Micah, I didn't know if I saw,
Same comment as Brad.
okay, and Tom, did you have something? I just want to make sure I'm not.
No,
Okay.
I'm just assuming if I have a question, I can,
Yep.
Drop
Oh,
in,
absolutely.
right?
Again, the intention for this discussion right now is more of a workshop. We did this before when we were talking about Crossroads Pavilion and their needs out there.
excellent.
Had a little more casual with tables set up, but since we're here on a council meeting, we thought let's just have this discussion now. So even though we're up here in our, I do want this to be more of a casual conversation between all of us, because we need to figure out what's going to work best, and we do need to clean our ordinance and then communicate that as well. So, okay, all right. So where I left off on was the containers, piles, etc. will be charged an additional item, and we want to change that to prepay. Mark, what I see Jeff nodding. Would you agree with that? As far as, some of the garbage that you have that's excess, if prepay is easier?
Yeah, I think it is. Then anything you pick up, you get paid for.
Right.
Not picking stuff up for nothing.
You're not being shafted with
Right.
too much. Okay.
So if you pick it up, you know it's been prepaid, so it's good to go.
And then the prepay, like Schwartz, you're ready to have bags for sale. Is that something that you two have both looked into then? I mean, Mark, do you have something as well?
Yeah, I got, these stickers here is what the sticker I'm gonna buy.
Okay.
They'll say where to put them and how to put them on, and so,
And they buy that from you.
yep.
They would come to DeCrife and buy that from
Yeah, that or I'd bring some up if that was fine. I mean, that or they can come to me.
Okay.
So,
They could be bought
The,
in
the,
bulk.
the one concern is just you're adding more cash receipting responsibilities to city staff by doing that.
And Jeff, you would have your bags or whatever
yeah,
it
they
is.
can
would have
come
my
to
s-
me if you guys don't want to
Right,
mess with it. That's up to you. So,
right.
So are you feeling that you could buy these in bulk? You could buy 10?
Yeah,
at a
you could buy
time?
as many as you want.
yeah.
And you can have as many as you want out that day if you want to.
Right.
I mean, the people that have extra trash all the time, maybe they'll buy 20 or 30 at a time just to have them on hand.
Exactly.
So are you thinking there would be a separate charge then for a 32-gallon size versus a 65-gallon size then?
What I'd like to do is just go to a 30-gallon black bag. That's what you put your extra garbage in. Eliminate any other cans, because it's kind of hard to put a sticker on a can and it stick.
From a continuity perspective, though, doesn't the citizens need to know that they do the same thing for both services? Versus
Well,
two
yeah, I'd
different-
like to have it both services, but I cannot run mine like he runs his, vice versa.
Right.
We're two separate companies. We cannot together and get everything right. But I can't worry about what he's doing, and I'm sure he can't worry what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the confusion out in public as far as how that handles. So.
Well, as we redo this, we can certainly address that continuity thing in this proposal.
Well, either way, this is how I see it. If I'm consumer A and I have Schwartz and I have excess garbage, I call Schwartz and get what I need to have for excess garbage. If I have DeCrife, I call Mark and he's going to give me what.
Yeah, because I got to have them that they can put them on cans or bags.
Sure.
I got some people that babysit that got 7-8 cans every week. So my stickers are going to have to go on cans as well as bags.
Sure.
Same would be for other large items, if they.
So anything other than that, they'll have to call and we'll have to tell them, like if it's a couch or whatever, tell them what it costs and we'll come out and pick it up. These stickers are just for bags and cans.
Excess household garbage.
Right. Not like couches or
Sure.
chairs or something like that.
Tom, were you suggesting that we have two different kinds of customers. We have 32-gallon customers, we have 65-gallon customers, and you buy extra per liter. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I don't know if I'm suggesting anything at this point. What I'm trying to do is to understand the viewpoints that they have been talking about so that I can establish my own thoughts on it. So, because I know I personally have put out bags and I've put out 2 sizes of cans myself. And, you know, that flexibility, I'm just wondering if that will stay. And what the cost would be for that flexibility. So,
Jim, Jess, what I'd like to see is everybody get the hydraulic cans. But I've had for 10 years and it ain't going to happen.
I was going to say, it's in the paper today, in that section of the Mail Sun where you can look back 10 years or something like that, the flashback. It's in there about how the city council had addressed this about trying to get our residents to have the 65-gallon. Either they could rent it or buy it, and it was voted down.
That way
It
there'd
didn't
be
go
no
through.
confusion.
Right.
I mean, this is what you're paying your $16.25 for.
Right. Ideally, it would be easiest for both of you if the whole town went to 65-gallon hydraulic garbage containers.
But if that's the cans they want, they have to force that, not us. That's going to improve their business. I don't think that's the
We
city.
did enforce that, and we offered to pay for it.
And you guys did not. You said no.
And you guys still said no.
Was that back in 2000? When was it?
No,
Was
that was just when we were having these meetings.
The last I heard, we were paying for it and we were fronting it.
So we were
Okay,
going
We
to
were asking,
Okay, so
we were
tell-
asking the city to at least back us to get the money back from the customers. So in other words, we'd be asking the city to put $1 or $2 or whatever amount on the water bill or the garbage bill until they were paid for, is what we were asking.
Would we agree that the goal, long-term goal, would be to move toward an automated pickup system, right?
Absolutely. That would be
It
the
looks
thing.
like we're one of the few communities in northwest Iowa that doesn't have automated pickup.
what? Sorry, Pete.
So I think that, I don't know, how long is this proposal usually good for?
Which proposal are you looking at?
If we redo our ordinance,
Oh, well, then we have, our contract
our
is up
contract.
end of July or August.
The first,
and how
the
long
end
is
of
that
July.
for?
This one.
We just did 1 year. We did a continuation so that we
So
could
we
work
could
through this
discuss.
past year.
But is it always 1 year?
No.
No.
What did we do, 5 or
I
3?
think it's fine.
And if we're going to talk in terms of 5 years, we have to get serious about moving toward an automated system.
Right. So do you know, in all these meetings that we've been having, what is the cost now of the 65-gallon hydraulic container?
I don't know.
Okay.
If you
The way,
buy,
Sean, if you
I
buy in bulk,
thought
you
Sean
can go
got
up.
an estimate for
if you buy,
what,
if you buy in bulk, you can get them down, if you go through a consortium, to about $42. So if the city purchased those, you could do that through the consortium. They, as private haulers, would not be able to realize that reduction in cost. So if the city is going to say, yep, let's go ahead and do this, in order to cost or to reduce the cost for residents, since they would be renting them, it makes sense that the city would do that, but then have the haulers pay the city back.
But why would we rent them? That's the other thing.
What we charge right now, is what I charge right now is $70 a can.
So you can.
It's going to be kind of hard to say, now I'm going to sell you somebody else one for 40. Now I'm going to have 300 people coming up saying, well, I want $30 back.
Yeah, but I think it's also, there's a difference. That's if we buy them in bulk, and that's the price now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think before, when we were buying them, it's a
It was
different
just
price. You didn't get that
25
large
or
quantities.
50
You got to
at a
get your cost back from them.
Do you
So-
guys maintain an inventory of those containers, or do you order them as you need them?
Order as I need them.
Okay. So if we would do something, you're not going to get stuck with an inventory of cans.
The only way you can do that is if you mandate that it's 65-gallon container.
I understand.
So, how many of your customers would you say percentage do not have the 65-gallon containers? Half? 25%? What do you think?
I'd probably say a little over half of mine don't have them.
Really?
Jeff, he's got more out than I do. He's been doing it longer. I probably got 200 out, 250.
And there's a 5-year warranty on them, so.
It made it.
But it's lasted.
Jeff, how many of
10
your
years and
customers you think a
I'm
little?
gonna just say 300, but
So-
then I do have, Arlen DeVos's trailer court, and they all have two,
Wait.
so
Got it.
So
one for recycling, one
One
for.
way to potentially go through it is to, if the average cost you charged residents was $65 or 70, whatever that is over the course of 10 years, then those that have already paid for it are given a credit of the $2 or whatever that you would charge for so many months until they've paid $70, and then they would start paying the $2 fee or whatever the case is as well. So you're bringing equity back into it. That's one way to try to clarify and for those that have already paid. So those that have already paid are receiving a credit, and then those, so whatever it is, you have to establish that cost, whether it be $60 or 70. That would be the fairest way if you're going to go towards the 65-gallon containers.
But in that method, we never quit paying.
No, you're renting.
And our resident never quits paying.
But by renting those, you're replacing those. That cost goes to replace them after 10 years, whatever the case is.
See, and I'd just as soon say, as soon as it got to whatever price was set for the can, that's.
Be done.
You're done. It's your can, you own it.
I think they should own the can too, after they get it paid for. Then if they leave town or something, and take the can with them, it's their can. So,
That's how it is now. I mean, if
Right.
someone now that buys a can moves, they can take their can with them. It's their choice.
I guess I look at it, we're going to charge the citizens. What benefit of these cans is it to the citizens? I see the benefit to the hauler, but what's the benefit to the customer?
I know, because when I got them, you know how much easier it is to roll that out
I mean,
to the
other than
road?
rolling it out there.
Right. And the lid?
Yeah, we're kind of talking about the capital expense to get everything to be for continuity and for the kind of service that they're going to be utilizing. What is the operational expense impact? Does it cost less to pick up the garbage based on an automated process versus a manual process? Was that discussed in the committee level?
Well, it would save on going to the chiropractor for my help.
Right.
I mean,
Probably less wear and tear on your guys.
in reality, if we go to a fully automated, I'd have to be putting up probably 150, 200,000 to buy a new truck. Yeah, it's a benefit for me, as Brad says, but to get to that benefit, I'm going to have to put a lot of money into it to get there.
I think the benefit to the community is just the cleanliness of it. If everybody had the same type of container with a lid.
You go to a town and they're all sitting there.
Go to Sioux City.
It looks
Yep.
nice. You don't have them rolling in the street.
Yep.
Okay, so I just have one question. So since you guys are separate haulers and we talk about doing this consortium and buying them in bulk, they'd look the same. You guys gonna be able to keep track of whose customer is whose?
I think we've done a pretty good job of it so far. I mean,
the cans I got are dark gray and Jeff's are blue. And that would be nice to keep it that way. Then you would know for sure which ones are yours and which ones are his.
buying in bulk, I think they'd probably go, say, 400 of one and 400 of another color.
Sure.
I don't know if that would be an issue.
How many more cans do you think would need to be ordered to get everybody up to speed?
I would say to have some on hand, so new houses,
Extras.
probably 500. I would, just
For
an
you?
estimate.
And Mark, what do you?
I'd probably need about 800, 700, 800. I think I figured it out one time. It'd be about a $50,000 So, I mean, I'm willing to do that if the city's willing to charge $2 or $3 a month till the cans get paid for. I'm willing to front the 50,000. So I guess that was the big thing last time we asked about it. The city didn't want to tie up their money in it. And so I guess I'm willing to do that if the city's willing to do it. So, and I think Jeff is too.
Absolutely.
So beyond the cost of the cans that you're proposing here, is there going to be any rate changes? Are you guys proposing any rate changes?
I think we're just proposing a 5-year contract with a 50 cents a year increase after every year. And other than that, unless the landfill would go up $5 a ton, like they did a few years ago or something like that, then we'd have to adjust it. But other than that, there would be no increase, no.
And right now, the landfill isn't proposing an increase, right, Brad? 'Cause you're on the landfill? Correct.
We
So
stayed the same.
now, are they fiscal year like us as well?
Yes.
Okay, so for fiscal year 18-19, the landfill is not proposing an
Okay.
increase. I know that the landfill would really like to see the city of Sheldon better in recycling. The percentages are ridiculous, how much we are supposed to recycle and how much we do not.
And I think if you increase the recycling more often, I think that would help in their garbage intake.
Absolutely.
I think
And that's right.
if you limited the garbage and followed the ordinance, that would force people to recycle too.
Exactly.
Yep. And then the biggest complaint I hear is people never know when recycling is. If you have a set every other week, it's going to increase the volume.
Yeah.
I talked to the hauler in Sioux Center, and he said they went every other week, and it's tremendous of what that did when they switched to every other week.
Okay.
I understand that, but you can't compare us to other towns.
I'm not, but I'm just
I know
saying.
you're not, Brad, but I'm just saying,
Right,
But garbage
we're
is garbage.
2%,
Their garbage is garbage.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
and they're limited to the one can.
Yep. And
They're
it's
they're
enforced.
fully
Right.
automated.
Yep, so
I
let's
understand
let's
that,
stick
but
with
if you have more recycle, look at this garbage can down here. It's full.
A recycle
A
bin.
day after it's emptied.
it's full.
People are recycling, and we have a terrible recycling program in this town. People are confused. That's the number one complaint I hear. If we fix that to every other week, I think that will help the garbage.
I do
It's
too.
already every other week.
No, it isn't. Some weeks you go 3 weeks. If you have a holiday
4
in
times a
there-
month, Brad. 4 times
People
a
are
year.
confused.
There's a fifth Thursday.
There's a fifth,
Okay.
right,
4 times.
Last year, I looked at the calendar.
2 times. I get it, but, so.
I think if you limit their garbage, they're gonna, I think they don't recycle because we don't limit the garbage.
Right.
You can throw
charge them
anything and
nothing.
everything out, they're gonna.
We don't charge them nothing to throw all the recycling away.
Right. Garbage, recycling's free, and you can have as much as you want.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
let's go back to garbage.
Maybe
and then we'll get to
the city
recycling.
should get out of it. Maybe we should just get out of the garbage business. And
Then the
say,
city's gonna get fined. I'm fine with that, Brad. I really am.
here, let's say,
Because you know what? Then the city's gonna get fined for not having curbside
hold on.
service.
I'm talking.
Okay, talk, but I'm telling you what I was
I'm
told
done.
9 years ago. The city came to us and asked us to figure out a curbside recycling program. And this is what we came up with.
So I'd like to talk garbage before we talk recycling. Because I know garbage eventually is going to, if we can clean that up and take care of that, recycling will fall into place. Now, you're both willing to foot that bill
Yep,
to get the 65-gallon hydraulics. If, what was it?
if the
If
city.
we would
puts it-
impose the additional billing onto the utility bill?
Yep,
What, and I don't know what that would look like. And remember, discussion.
Yep.
What would that look like, Ange?
It depends how you do it. I mean, we have so many movers, and you're saying that they're gonna own it. So if someone lives there for 6 months, they've paid for 6 months of it, but then they took their garbage can, then what do you do there?
are we talking movers, are we talking movers that are renters or movers that own the house?
Most of our movers are renters.
And to me, then you go to the landlord and you say you pick either DeGrape or Schwartz, you buy their can, and that can stays with that house.
Yeah,
I would be in favor of that.
So it's
making
the property
landlord do it.
owner, it's the property owner
Yeah.
that would be subject to that additional fee until said container is paid for.
Yep.
Now, how does that work then? If that's something that we wanted to entertain, that's something that is doable on our utility bill, adding an additional line item?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but Angie, you send a bill to address 1234, the garbage can bill, if I own 10 houses, that portion would have to go to my address, not address 1234 and 2345.
I don't understand what
Huh?
you're saying.
Yeah.
It would have to go to the home owners instead of the people
If I
that
own
live
10
there.
homes,
Yes,
then I have to buy 10 cans.
and we would bill the landlord separately for that. Because
Okay, so
typically
you
the
wouldn't
bill
bill it
isn't
on
in the
the
landlord's
customer.
name,
You do hand billing.
probably.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to
Okay.
clarify, how you were going to do that.
Right.
Keep track of it.
I don't know how that all works within the office with our billing. So now you're willing to do that, I want to ask, that's why I'm asking Ed, what does it look like? What would that entail? How much of a burden or not burden would that be? And is that something doable? So that eventually we get the whole city up to par with having these containers. So that's something we could, but it could be not just something on the utility bill, but for
It'd be, yeah, we'd have to do different.
Landlords would be
separate things.
different?
It would be separate, yeah, because not every landlord has a utility bill in their name. Landlords that
Right.
live out of town, things like that.
sure.
Before you would decide anything, I'd want to talk to Pat. because
Oh my gosh, yeah,
That's all
absolutely. We're having discussion roundtable talk right now, so, and that's absolutely, I want to find out how that would work.
Another, this is off of how we're going to buy cans and whatnot, but assuming that we do make the ordinance dictate a 65-gallon, and to go back to the different colors to identify for the services, I'm wondering if it would be better to stay with one color can and have some kind of a sticker that you guys would supply for that, so that if I'm buying my can and I should happen to change provider, I don't have to buy another can because the color's different. And yeah.
I think Mark has stickers that he puts on his, and I have stickers I put on mine.
So let's
So
just say
in
they
reality,
were all
it wouldn't
green.
matter.
If they
but-
were all green, it wouldn't matter then, right?
But it would make it easier for us to identify.
You're right.
That's all.
Right.
But yeah, we could tell by the stickers. And
Because it would be difficult to tell someone they had to buy another can because of the color,
no,
you know. Something, just a small element of this whole issue.
We could make you paint them, Tom.
A D stamp and an S stamp.
There's got to be residents out there that wouldn't be able to move these cans, though.
Actually, probably 15 years ago, back in Green Bay, they had a mayor push, they had a mayor that weighed about 120 pounds get into one of these containers. And the mayor was pushed around by a senior citizen. They're very easy to move around. Much easier than your standard garbage can.
So the number of people that probably couldn't move it is very...
Correct. They brought him into a freezer overnight and brought him back out and hit him with sledgehammers to show that they can withstand the cold weather. They're around the country because they're so convenient.
I'm not getting in a can for people to put in their arms.
But it's just
I ain't no 120 pounds either.
it's very convenient.
Right.
Do we have many customers that put out maybe just one bag?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I have a neighbor who's just one little bag every other week. Jean, I don't know who picks her up, but
We have a few, but the little old lady that does that, they're getting fewer and fewer too.
okay.
So, I mean, most of them are cans or multiple bags. I mean,
There are some on mine too. I'll admit that, but then you go back to eating everything in the can, then at least she's paying the same thing for John Doe down the road that used to have 6 cans. So she's really not getting, you know what I want to say?
Yeah, they're paying the same rate no matter what right now anyway.
Yeah, so why should she be paying the same rate for that?
Because it's
Go down
one
to
flat unit rate
buy it.
per household. That's what it is. So whether you have a little Hy-Vee bag of garbage or the fill up your 65 gallon, every household.
We used to
has the
say
same
that
fee.
that's how we made the money. It's because we had so many of them. They're not many.
So I think something that I want to finish talking garbage before we get into recycling. I want to look into the feasibility of that of maybe having you two invest in that initial purchase and what that would look like, if that's something that we could do to have it all uniform and the same before we go ahead with amending our ordinance and whatnot. I'd like to talk to Pat to see what that might be like.
I have a question for Ange.
Mm-hmm.
When a renter moves out of a house and has a water bill that is not paid, do we go after the landlord?
So in Iowa, the landlord has the option, if they notify us within 30 days of the tenant moving in and they sign a waiver form, the landlord is not responsible for any unpaid bill at the house.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, if we try to stick the landlord with the cost of these cans,
And then they get
I don't think it's right to the landlord.
Sure.
So,
Right.
another question I want thrown out there.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be our biggest confusion, how to work through what's a rental property, and how to figure that out. I think it all should be owned, the containers. And I say that because my husband will be, I paid for that, that's mine. Not saying that we're going to take it with us wherever we go, because we're not going anywhere. But I think a lot of people will think that I paid for that, it's mine. There's no way we can guarantee that this receptacle will always stay with this property with people coming and going. So I'm trying to think through how it will work with some of the rental properties that we have in town and how that fee would be imposed. So right now you think they're around 42, 45. And that's something that if it broke it up into just 12 months isn't too much more of a payment if that's something that we were to ask our residents to do. That is something I would like to check in further with Pat, like how would the billing look like? And then, have communications with our residents too on the feedback from them as well with that.
And just remember the ongoing increases in the utility bills with the wastewater plant.
Then that's exactly the other thing that we're
Is that our
forced to
problem?
deal with right now.
I know, but is that our problem?
No, not at all. But at the same time,
Understand
Trying
that it's
to-
hard to get
it is,
get people
we didn't want to have to
spend
do.
another $2 or $3.
Right.
for a
And we
can.
didn't want to have to do a new wastewater treatment, but we are, and so just those additional fees, it can add up. So
Can.
just trying to be gentle about, don't want to throw everything at them at once. We want to help
Understandable.
everybody out as much as we can.
Question,
Yes.
if I may. What is the life expectancy of the can? You said 5
There's
years
a
on
5-year
warranty.
warranty, but I know I've had some out there since we started 2009. I think, I'm thinking 2 broke and one was, a tree fell down on top of it, so it broke.
Sure.
But other than that,
And if you buy in bulk, you can mandate a minimum of a 10-year warranty, and they'll give it to you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if you were doing it automated across the board, how long would you expect that can to last with that process? And the reason I'm
basically the
asking
same, I
that
would
question is how often am I going to have to buy a new can?
I don't know. I don't have an answer because, like I said, right now I've got them out there for 10 years and don't know.
And
they've
if I have
lasted.
to replace my can, or am I going to be going through the same process
If you're
of
renting.
paying for it?
If you're renting the can, which is indefinite, that goes towards the replacement of cans, can maintenance, and so forth.
Yeah, but I'm talking as a resident at this point, and what I'm saying is my can wears out. I got $2 a month for how many months to buy the first can. We're going to have the same option to buy the second can Because if that's not the case, then residents are going to say, well, I'm going to have end up buying another can for $70.
Well, for the last 10 years, and it did
It may.
cost you $70, and that's 70.
I'm looking down the road a ways,
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
keep thinking about the fact that if we were to have a element of the monthly charge take care of the cans, and it would replace cans when they need to be replaced and when they don't, then I'm wondering if the impact is very low to begin with, and the benefit and the worry to the owner or non-owner or the user of the can is taken care of. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And when they come to pick up my can and it doesn't work anymore, then I get another can. And I don't have to worry about it. You guys don't have to worry about whether I buy another can and that type of a deal. I'm wondering if there isn't some value to that, because then you're already spreading out that cost over a long period of time, and it maintains itself. And right now, all we're talking about is the initial expense. And then after that, we're really not talking about the remaining maintenance costs to the owners of these cans. So
Well,
I'd be happy to hear other comments about that, but I could see that in my mind being a more manageable program, and it'd be easy to communicate to the residents and the landowners and whatever, and then we're done with it. We don't have to change ordinances in the future or anything else.
Then that would just be going into the city's general fund then, per se. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not sure
trying to
how the
understand.
financial side of it would go, but
a rental, looking at a rental, is that what you're talking about?
If you look at a
Basically
rental, it
looking
would
at
be
rental instead of,
the cans would be the city's cans at that point. And
then
not
I don't
waste
think
oil.
we should have to buy them.
Right.
I mean, then we're switching the ball around back to the city. So,
So if you factor in a 5-year contract at a lower price to cover the initial cost of the cans or the investment that the city has, that's a way of doing it as well.
right. See, I'm
it's
wondering-
hard, it's hard making it at the $16 a quarter because we already give the city $1.50.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's.
But then you want to
There's
take another $2, so then we're picking up garbage for $12.
But just be aware, most communities that charge a franchise fee are charging it for the wear and tear on the right of way. And the haulers do their own billing on top of that. We're
And we
doing
pay
the
the
billing
city.
for you, but we're being paid for doing the billing. Franchise fees are paid because of the wear and tear on the right of way. The haulers still do their own billing. So you're getting the benefit of the billing at this point in time.
I don't think there's a lot of haulers around the area that do their own billing. I think most of it's through the city, all around this area, that I'm aware of. But
Okay, garbage. I want to look into that, what that might look like. In the meantime, we have our ordinance in place of the 232s, the 165 excess. You're doing your own things right now with it. Are you doing the sticker right now, Mark?
no, I've been waiting to see what the meeting was going to end up, but I think I'm just going to start doing what the ordinance says. I'll get stickers, and I won't do it till I have the stickers, but, I mean, is that what we're going to do now, or no?
Oh, I don't know for sure, but I'm just saying, right now, what's in place, and has been in place for 9 years, is the 2 32-gallon containers or the 165.
So are we going to notify the public that that's what the ordinance is, and if they have extra, they have to call us, or?
That's been part of our, no offense, I know you're following the ordinance, but that's been part of our frustration, is you just kind of picked a time when you started and the public.
I was told not to put it in the paper.
But none of your
January.
customers knew. You know what I mean?
I know, but I
Yeah.
was told by someone not to put anything in the paper.
Okay. Well, we need to communicate what our ordinance is. and back you up on following the ordinance until we get it all figured out on how we're going to improve and better.
Is everybody
Thanks.
in agreement that the ordinance says I can leave it on the curb?
So the one portion of that sentence that is still there.
Who's I can leave it?
What's that?
Who can leave it?
No, the hauler.
Remember, the excess that's still in place, and that's not something we can just change right here by saying
I
yes.
understand why you guys want to read, but please don't take this
No,
wrong.
I
Right.
understand.
I'm
But-
just saying, with the way I currently read the ordinance, the hauler doesn't have a choice. They pick up what's on the curb, then they have a choice to bill for whatever they deem necessary.
Right. So,
That's
And-
completely different than what I believe Jeff is currently doing.
And that actually is what we tell new customers, because that's the way the ordinance originally was. That if you have extra, you need to call them and to arrange for them to pick up. We never said anything about when payments made or anything like that, but
and
But then you're looking at a $3 extra, it's gonna cost you like $8. Because you got bookkeepers involved, you gotta pick it up, pay for it. So I'm just trying to eliminate people for spending more than what they need to.
sure. But just so you know, we just can't take this ordinance and change it right
I
here, right now.
understand.
Okay, so right now, what
So
we'll
right
do
now, you're
is,
telling me I gotta pick everything up.
I
What-
think that we should have this, dig into the language a little bit. Todd, what phrase are you referring to?
in section 106.10, paragraph, or section 2, it says all additional containers, piles, etc. Right, Todd? Place for collection.
Put it away because I was done talking.
Place for collection will be charged an additional fee by the private hauler. Private hauler will use his discretion in assessing additional charges.
In my opinion, will be charged, could be before or after.
Okay.
It doesn't specifically say.
You have to do it, pick it up and then bill them.
You are on notice that you will be charged an additional fee.
Okay.
Could it be clearer? Yes. But is it broad enough to encompass both before or after? In my opinion, yes.
Okay.
The only reason I'm opposed to what Jeff is currently doing is because it leaves garbage on the curb.
Then I would point to subsection 3, which says waste containers shall not be allowed to remain at the site pickup area and shall be removed from the curb, driveway, and parking, etc. the same day refuse is picked up. Now, I think
We have a nuisance thing here.
Right.
if you,
It's
for
gonna get
instance, I
stupid.
had a container that didn't get picked up, and I got home and said, oh, it didn't get picked up, it's got to go back in the garage. I believe that is consistent with the intent of the ordinance.
So,
I wish everybody was responsible as you are.
right.
Me too.
You may also want to consider, as you're looking at amending the ordinance, right now it can remain out there for 30 days. So you want to try to shorten that time frame up as well. Potentially 5 days, 3 days, whatever the council may want. But right now, it can be left out for 30 days.
Where's the
The end goal should be all the garbage.
Where does it say 30 days?
Oh, it's in a different part of the ordinance.
The town's clean, and away we go.
Right. No matter what is changed, it's gonna be a little ugly, literally, physically, in the interim as we're trying to figure all this out and change it. But right now, we're communicating with the media, and we need to communicate with the public, and maybe we can do that part of our utility as reminding people of the ordinance that is in place. And that if you have additional garbage, call your hauler. Here's their numbers. Until we get this all straightened up to what we want it to be in the future.
Is there any problem with me changing the recycling day?
I don't see that anywhere in black and white. So let's talk recycling. What are you thinking and proposing, Jeff?
In August 1st, I'm proposing to change all my routes around to make it more feasible for me to go save wear and tear in the street. And I'm changing the recycling to Sunday night, Monday morning.
So place it out Sunday night?
So recycling would be placed out on Sunday.
Okay.
all of your customers?
All
We
Schwartz.
have. I would have 2 separate routes yet. A route 1 and a route 2.
So Sunday night pickup for
Yep.
garbage?
No,
would be
recycling.
when?
Garbage.
And
if you-
recycling at the same time?
Nope, like your garbage would be moved back one day.
So that'd be on
Well-
Monday.
Can I show you guys something? This is
Yeah,
what I'm
yes,
trying
please.
to do.
Yeah, let us know. Yep. I'm liking this idea.
Where do I want to start?
I don't like change. Start at the end and work your way around.
This is going to be Route 1. It would be everything outside of this area.
It's not helping at all.
Middle of town basically would be,
It'd be nice if all recycling was Sunday.
your route would be Monday night, Tuesday. Because everything on the, other than this would be picked up on that night.
So both nights you do garbage?
Just kidding.
Tuesday, Wednesday, I would pick up the inside.
So
Sunday night would be this route for recycling.
Bye, Karen.
And
I'll
then
talk
when
to you
The
soon.
first and third, like it is now. The second and fourth would be the middle town. That's what I'm trying to do.
So Jeff, how will you tell your customer base who's customer one and who's customer two?
By the map.
By the map. Oh, okay.
It's everything north of Highway 18, everything east of Washington Avenue, everything south of 11th Street, and everything west of Old 60 would be one route,
Yep.
and the rest of it would be another.
Okay. So you
For
would
me,
provide a
it's
map?
going to be- that way I go up and down the streets, and then I go down the avenues.
Gotcha.
So I'd be saving wear and tear on this.
So you would be able to share this with our customers. If you're in this area, your Sunday night recycling,
This area
Monday
would be
night
Sunday,
garbage,
this area would be
as far as recycling.
Monday, and this would be Tuesday.
Okay.
And it's going to be a learning experience for me.
For all of us, sure.
And would this be every other week pickup for
The
recycling?
same way it is now.
Same way it is now.
See, and I,
So what does that mean? Hold on. What does that
So
mean?
Route 1 would be the first and third
Okay.
Mondays of the month,
Okay.
and the next one would be the second. Now, it runs into holidays. We have 2 holidays that are always on Monday. So that, instead of having people with garbage and forgetting to put their garbage out because they're gone or something, this way would be recycling that they're not putting out or forgetting.
Okay.
But we would still pick that up then Wednesday night, Thursday.
Okay.
So it would be just like the holiday is now.
So
So is this referencing?
would you
since I was
provide
gone,
a
is
map
this
and a
garbage or
calendar?
is this
This is
recycling?
well, it's both, because this would be my
I still think
first
we
route
need every other week
on
recycling
Monday night, Tuesday.
to increase,
and this would
to
be
decrease the
second route,
garbage.
Tuesday night.
And that's something we did talk about too,
And then this would be first.
And that's the number one
Mondays.
thing I hear.
This would be the second.
unless we have bigger containers.
Okay, thank you.
I gotta rate recycling.
Jeff, a question about recycling, and Mark too. Do you guys do recycling for businesses? Yes? Really?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Because
Schwartz does too.
what I've noticed is the public recycling is used mostly by businesses.
Right.
And they don't break their boxes down, which is irritating. But yeah, so you do, and they just don't utilize it, or they just have that much?
I don't
Don't know?
know, they must not use this, I guess, for recycling, because I know when I dump that thing, a lot of it's business recycle,
Yeah.
or people haul from out of town into town. And that's
So do your
really not what it
businesses
would
have
do.
separate recycling containers?
What's that?
Do the businesses have separate recycling containers?
Yeah, they got
do?
dumpsters
Okay.
for them, or they just pile them up and I come pick them up.
Okay.
But I don't think businesses are required by code and the DNR to recycle.
And why
They're
is
not.
that? Why is that?
Residential is.
Oh, okay.
How come
But yeah,
business isn't?
businesses get all the boxes.
They're the ones
I
with
don't know.
cardboard.
Don't know that.
Well, that's something we talked about too, is adding that in our ordinances, recycling.
It's not mandated, and there are no communities anywhere in our landfill region that require or mandate recycling.
Unless it's voluntary. They
Unless
do
it's
it themselves.
voluntary. Yep. So if you mandate it, then you have to have somebody out inspecting and enforcing, and that works, but it takes time and
I know on all my businesses, I encourage them to recycle because that'll keep their rate down. And a lot of them do. Last week I got 3.4 tons of recycling.
Yeah, because the only expense you have in the recycling is the pickup.
What's that?
The only
your
thing you
gas,
have
your
is
time.
in the recycling cost is your pickup.
Right.
Because a landfill doesn't charge them to dump it. So the only thing the haulers have is labor and
The time, the gas, the time,
Expense.
yeah.
Equipment and
Not the
fuel.
dumping.
Right, but the more people recycle,
The less your garbage goes down.
The cheaper I can get their bill and keep their bill. So-
Exactly.
And I tell them that, and some of them don't care. They pay double the bill, and they're not going to recycle. But some of them are all for it. So
I think that's a message that we could deliver from the city perspective as well, so people
Oh, yeah, yeah.
understand the value of it beyond.
Right. I have known communities where the city has been penalized by the DNR and fined because of their lack of recycling. And I try to tell people that we don't ever want to get to that where we're being fined because we're not recycling. That's why it's important.
Question, what's
we
the
do.
approved recycling container these days?
We need a better one.
Anything you want as far as,
That little blue thing?
you can have it in
Anything.
anything.
Oh, anything?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
put mine
But-
in garbage bags.
I do.
I
Jeff
know-
knows. Mine's in garbage bags.
I know the
Everything.
landfill has told me years ago that they'd like to see if you put it in plastic bags, it'd be a clear plastic bag. But I
Try to
don't,
find those in the stores.
I don't even know if they're going by that.
Yeah, and that's just it. Recyclables, you can put out as much as you want.
And
Now,
that
yeah.
recycling can, that was, but that was based off of 25 years ago, or
Right.
30 years ago when we started recycling.
Yeah.
So I mean, look how recycling's evolved over the years. We need a bigger can.
We
so,
do.
And most people have gone to a bigger can.
If,
know?
if we're working our way towards auto pickup for garbage, then auto pickup for this is just
Right.
just a common sense thing to do.
Shauna had brought in a couple of samples for us to check out. One was absolutely huge.
I have more.
Is it still out there?
I think
I have more recycling a week than I do garbage.
With the
It
container
should be
fee-
that way.
It should be that way.
It should be that
Oh, yeah.
way every week.
It should. And now that I'm trying to be more savvy about, since I don't know when it was that we all started talking more in depth about this, my recycling is usually more than what my garbage would be, as long as I keep up on my family. But so our receptacles that we have in our community now are just terrible. With as many Gatorade and water bottles as people go through nowadays, that's something else we need to look at, is a bigger container with a lid, similar to what we have for garbage.
And personally, I use a 65-gallon can that can be auto
Well,
dumped.
we looked at a
And,
much larger can, too.
A much larger can, and it is. I mean, we've actually
Yeah.
filled that thing up.
And we also did try for a grant. I believe we got denied.
Yeah.
You can get up to 10,000.
$10,000.
Right, but
Yeah.
ideally it'd be nice to get, and I'm sure you guys would appreciate that too, is having a larger receptacle with a lid that could be that hydraulic lift, because right now,
I've
let's
got
face
some
it,
out there. Brad's got one.
I've got one.
yeah, the every other week pickup that we do now with that little container just doesn't cut it. But I'm glad to know
And
we can put whatever we need to, but we have to look into.
I'm not saying
changing
that
it.
I wouldn't do recycling every week, but it would have to prove to me that it would work.
Absolutely.
And that's why I've kind of been going with, let's go with the can one only. That would force people to recycle. And then if it came to the point where, hey, I can't get it all on one truck, then maybe I could say, fine, I will go out every week.
Right.
But as of this point,
If you went out
I
weekly,
don't
you
even have
wouldn't.
2,000 pounds on my truck. I go out, and half of that's the school.
I just think it's good policy for us as a city to really push recycling.
Yeah.
I mean,
and,
there's no-
and it's
there's
going to
no
start
back-
with enforcing what the garbage is,
Yeah.
enforcing that, standing together, working together. This is what our ordinance is. This is what we're going to stick with.
Right.
No more. And hopefully that will get our residents to be a little more.
So I'd
smart
like to
about
see
recycling.
those two put together in an ordinance so
Right.
that we're addressing.
I don't
the
know. Can we
overall-
put recycling in an ordinance? Didn't we just say that?
If you want, you can.
We'd be the first
Okay.
ones to do it.
Isn't
Here's the
our
other thing.
recycling like at 2% right now?
I know it's low. What we had talked about before,
20%,
but we're at like 6%. I don't know where I got those figures.
and that's
Anybody
between
remember?
both of us. I mean, that's just not 6% me and 6% him.
Yes.
That's both of them.
So we should be at like a, what was it?
I think
25,
the
30.
rate is 20% or 30%.
So we should be at a 30% recycling, and we're at maybe 6, maybe.
At least,
So here's the difference too with garbage. Correct me if I'm
Now,
wrong.
you need to factor in the Love Inc. cardboard. I don't know if that was factored in or not.
Okay. But when you bring garbage, you bring it in, it gets dumped in the big hole. When you bring recycling, it goes to a sorting
bill.
facility, correct?
It goes into the bill, and they resourced it out. So now
But-
it actually, everything we have actually goes to the building, and then the building, it gets shipped to Lamar.
And then in Lamar's, there's a sorting facility
Yep.
where people can determine
Yep.
what is and what isn't.
Yes.
So what I've been telling people too, because the confusion of what is recycling and what's not, if you have a question, recycle it. Because there's people to sort through that and determine what's garbage. Whereas if you just put it in the garbage, it's there forever.
If you go
So-
to the landfill's website, they have it listed.
Can you share that?
We have them in our office.
Yeah,
too.
and
They
the
send them
city's
to us.
got them.
Okay.
I think they take everything except glass and possibly styrofoam.
Right, and that is on our city website. What is recyclable?
There's some
Yeah,
They've started accepting a lot more.
yeah.
Yep.
There's
They're
there's
taking
some plastic
magazines and-
restrictions as
Right.
well,
Yes.
as far as number 5.
And I just say,
and
if
stuff
if
like
you have a question, just recycle it because there's people to sort through that. There's jobs out there that can do that.
They do outsource it to Lamar's.
That through
So,
vans.
Right.
through vans.
Is it vans?
Because of the cost of upgrading employees and that, the landfill was subsidizing recycling, so we felt it was beneficial for us to outsource it.
Sure, okay.
It's a good practice to manage rates as well. I mean, we can probably more effectively, and they can more effectively manage their rates better if there's more recycling going on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So,
All right, so eventually I'd like to look into different recycling containers, but one step at a time.
Right now, you can put it in anything you want.
Thank you. I appreciate that because I do. You're there. So when we leave here, we've been having a good discussion for about an hour. When we leave here, I want to eventually sit down with Ange and Pat and see what that would look like. If that's something we want to see about having the garbage receptacles bought and see what that would look like on our end as far as billing out customers. I'd also like to get feedback from the public to see, what that might look like, hear from our residents. Play out different scenarios on like rental homes and how that might, who do you bill, etc. But for now, this is the code. That's what we're going to enforce. We'll back you up. Yes, Mark?
About the ordinance and when can I start enforcing that? Are we gonna,
It's been in place 9 years, so you just go right out there and go ahead and let your people. We're letting them know right now through the
I
radio
don't
and
want to
newspaper.
bomb the city office with calls,
Sure. Hey, you know what? Tomorrow,
Put it,
because they're gonna get them. I mean, can we educate them or something for a month or so before we enforce it? I mean, go, when the new contract starts, enforce it then? Can we educate them from now till then or not?
absolutely. I can talk about it. We can talk about it. When's the
Newsletter.
newsletter, utility bill, right? We put in the utility bill,
Put
the
it in
newsletter.
This month's bill and the June.
So the July water bill, website.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I do the little public service announcement with KIWA. I can do that there. Ty, you can get it on newspaper websites as well and get it in the papers for us there too.
If I'm gonna order them stickers, that takes about 6 weeks, so I just need to know for sure if I can go ahead and order them or we're not gonna do it or we're gonna do it.
That is the ordinance. And
Okay.
that I don't know if I'm wrong here, but that's how I see it playing out, is either 232s or 165. Eventually we want to get the whole city to 165 gallon containers. Excess is going to be excess.
I
You want to
don't
do
mind,
stickers and you want to do bags, that's your business.
I don't mind enforcing it, but we gotta tell the people.
Exactly. We're going to communicate with them and let them know.
I mean, we gotta let them know what's happening.
We'll start now. Well, we did now. We started now.
And what about the contract? Are we gonna talk about that tonight or no? Or
We'll get there. Is that okay if we come back again?
yeah, we're
So I
we're running out of time,
Right.
but
After an hour, I feel like sometimes we all start getting ants in our pants and we need to move on. But so what I want to do is leave here looking into what that scenario might look like as far as billing and how that might play out and what the cost would be, et cetera. And then we'll get together again and sit down and have a discussion, maybe not in this scenario yet. We'll pull together a committee again and sit down and chat. So once we get that into place, then it'd be nice to clean up the recycling too. But again, I agree with you, Jeff. Why go out every week unless there's really a demand? If
There's
we
a
can
demand
get there,
for it,
it's
I'll
going to
do
be
it.
great. Yeah.
And I wish there was, but
Yep,
for
and
me,
I think we'll get there. It's going to be a matter of enforcement, working together to, everybody's got to be on the same page. And then enforcing that, backing you up with that as well. And then getting into the next phase.
So maybe before I put out the newsletter, if you could look into your stickers and you can get me the price of the bags so that we can
I'm
put all
doing
that in there.
stickers.
Oh, you're doing stickers. Sorry.
Okay.
it's just, I would rather see it only on bags rather than somebody throw out an extra
Can.
can.
Right.
Understandable.
That's
So
all
if
they
you
are.
if you two would get that information to the city office so that we can put that on our next water bill, that'd be great too. Okay. So we're going to start communicating that. We're going to look into how we can clean this up, but also what would look like as far as billing. Then next, we'll meet again real soon about contracts and we'll bring it back in July because we have to figure something out by the end of
Well,
July.
for changing the ordinance, that takes, 3 meetings?
Yeah, 3 readings.
Basically, if we're going to change the ordinance by the first meeting in August, the contract,
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
that's,
So
we're
we're,
going to have to discuss everything.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds,
Yep. Yes? Okay. Checking with the chief. Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys both for coming in and having the discussion. It's again, it's going to get messy before it gets better, but it is a matter of communication and just working through it. We'll work through it and everything will work itself out. So thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Last on our agenda, comments. Any comments to my left? To my right? I have a few. So we're not done yet. I would like to remind you, council, and media, our next council meeting will be Tuesday, July 3rd at 12 o'clock noon. Also,
I will not-
fireworks.
Mayor,
What?
I won't be there. for
Tom will
that.
be gone. Will Brad?
I'm marrying off a daughter that.
Oh, congratulations. I saw that. No, I didn't see that. It was somebody else's I saw, but
It's-
congratulations.
yeah.
Sean, are you able to be here? Brad?
We're done by 1.
Okay. Chop, chop.
We'll keep it short.
So a short agenda. Got you? Pete? I just want to make sure we'll have a quorum.
more.
We want to make sure. I'm pretty sure Greg will be here as well. Hi, Ty.
Leaving a quarter to 2 to start.
Okay, thank you for turning your sound off when you do that. Before,
I heard it from Tom. I haven't had time to fiddle with it.
I have 2 other comments. The other is fireworks. The Sheldon, our regulations are fireworks are now permissible June 20th through July 5th between the hours of 12 o'clock noon and 10 p.m. with the exception of July 4th. The exception of July 4th, you may go until 11 p.m. Lord help us, please exercise safety. And then last, I would like to say thank you, Sean, for being a part of the city of Sheldon for the past 18 months, and we wish you well down in Galveston, Texas.
Thank you.
So, best wishes to you. He's not gone. He's here until the 28th, but this is our last council meeting with him. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Support.
Todd, did you have a comment?
I'll
We can have
undo my
comments now.
motion.
We have 2 motions. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just quick, 16th Street.
Yes.
They started with tree removal.
Yeah.
They pulled out. They'll be back next week. We'll look for a closure again the week of July 9th.
Okay.
I will be sending, or we will be sending letters out to the affected property owners. The current schedule has paving like the 2nd or 3rd week in August. More notices will go out before paving. The intent is to allow for homeowners to be able to access their homes via side streets, but not have through traffic. I know Brad got a complaint about some traffic going up 8th Avenue, but when we go to the next closure, we'll have traffic detoured back by Country Club Road.
Okay.
Because there were some truck traffic issues that were getting into town
Oh,
too.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will
How
go
long will
again.
that second closure be for? I mean, is it going to be several weeks?
No,
Okay.
it does depend upon who you believe, though. Contractor says 2 days. Myself and the engineer don't believe that.
So the road will be open while you're putting in tile on the side and stuff of that nature?
No.
So that'll be another closure
Yeah,
time?
so essentially once July 9 hits, the road will be closed to through traffic. Because there'll be work on the sides through that, there'll be patchwork. They're gonna do the patchwork in one lane at a time to allow for people to get to their homes,
Yeah,
but it'll be closed to through traffic.
okay.
So people will need to take some alternate routes. Which is one of the big reasons why we wanted to get this thing done before harvest.
Exactly, chop, chop.
Right.
Yeah. So it's an inconvenience, but every road project is an inconvenience. You just gotta hope that the end product is worth the inconvenience for a short period of time.
And it shall be. We will be positive and uplifting. Okay.
Wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
They are moving along nicely, even with some of this weather. So the basement walls of the Inlet Works building are poured, grit chamber is poured, the wet well is poured. They will be working on some footings coming up for the rest of the Inlet Works building. The majority of the hole is dug for the SBR structure. They'll be moving towards a floor pour on there. That could be a pretty impressive day. They're talking about trying to pour 850 yards of concrete in one day. So they tell me they can pull it
Cool.
off. I'll be interested to see if they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So
I find
anyways,
that
both
interesting.
projects are moving along nicely.
Good.
You will be seeing another change order on July 3 for the wastewater project, but it's not a big deal. So
Okay.
that's all I have.
Glad it's moving along smoothly, and sorry I didn't check with you before I took.
No, that's fine. Floyd is kind of at a standstill. Some because they pulled off, some because of weather, but we're okay there yet.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Any other comments then?
Sure he's done?
All right. That's probably a comment. We are adjourned.
We didn't vote.
Oh, may I have a? We are not adjourned. May I have a roll call?
Hamel,
You throw me off.
Aye.
Sean, or Brewster, sorry.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Eggers.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we are adjourned. It's like a comic hour on here. We said.